Hello and welcome to the Burn KC ScorchCast. My name is Alex Blackburn. I am your host for today, this Sunday, 6/11/2023, Sunday ScorchCast. Welcome. I know last week we kind of missed out on a ScorchCast. I was in Kentucky with my girlfriend at an engagement party. It was a lot of fun. Got to see the cool sights around Lexington, the Lexington area, and a little bit of Louisville too. Got to see Rupp Arena, which is cool, I guess. Kentucky basketball as a Jayhawk guy, but yeah, I'm still a college basketball fan, and it was still pretty cool to see the inside of there. Pretty cool stadium. But I digress. We're here now. Let's go into what is in today's show. Got some college basketball news. It's a pretty loaded show, by the way. Got some college basketball news. Kansas State landing a pretty good commit out of the transfer portal. Got some NBA news as well, kind of. It's kind of minor news, but it's still pretty cool. More on that later, though. Got some college football stuff. Got some Royals stuff. Got Sporting Kansas City, who is in the playoff picture, by the way. Again, more on that later. The Kansas City Current got some Chiefs stuff, Blues stuff, and a little bit of your comments and reading them. So it should be a good show. Strap in, sit tight, let's get started. Starting out with college basketball, Kansas State acquired Creighton transfer Arthur Kaluma. He committed today, not even like 8 hours ago. So he committed. He's kind of going to be their Keontae Johnson replacement. And now Kansas State has a decent recruiting class this year. We'll see what happens. We'll see what goes on, but they could be right back in it for the Big 12 title race. We'll see. Obviously, they got a few commits there. Tyler Perry, Arthur Kaluma, and a few other guys that are returning from last year. They got David Castillo coming in 2024. So should be a decent couple of years for the Tang administration. Obviously, Jerome Tang kind of made a big splash last year, getting Kansas State all the way to the Elite Eight when they weren't even predicted to make the tournament. So that's huge. And when you have a huge year like that, you're going to get some good recruits, and you're going to get some guys that buy into your method and your strategy. So we'll see how Tank's sophomore season goes. Could be good, could be abysmal, could be anywhere in between. And with the commitment of Kaluma, it's a solid commitment. He was one of Creighton's highest producers last year. Creighton made it all the way to the Elite Eight as well, lost out to San Diego State. And you know what? They may have made it all the way to the Final Four, even. Like, I can't. Last year's tournament was a blur. Like, not just because, Kansas lost in the second round. I still paid attention, I promise. But just the way that the Final Four structured itself out. And now that I'm thinking about it more, no, Creighton did not make the Final Four. They lost to San Diego State to make it to the Final Four. So, and then San Diego State beat Florida Atlantic to go to the Final Four. So, thank you for jogging my memory, me. But, Kansas State picking up Arthur Kaluma, one of the highest producers on that Creighton basketball team. He's going to be the Keontae Johnson replacement. That's a huge pickup for K-State. And again, yeah, they're going to be right back in the Big 12 title race. So be on the lookout. I think Big 12 is on notice now, for sure. Uh, as for Kansas, they added a couple of walk-ons. A Cal State Northridge transfer and a guy that was on the manager team. But you got to add bodies. Kansas needs bodies, so you got bodies. Um, as for that final scholarship spot for KU, it's tough to say. I know that they're looking at quite a few guys um, in the transfer portal and in recruitment that could fill that role. I know they were looking at the Rutgers transfer and obviously the guy from North Dakota State. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but a couple other guys. I honestly would rather have that guy from North Dakota State. His name, gosh, what is his name? It's Grant something, I feel like. Let me check. Hold on. Let me check. Grant Nelson. I knew it was Grant something. But what did he commit? Wait, hold Oh no, he didn't. I thought I saw some commitment news. He didn't commit yet. Grant Nelson, 6'11" guy, would make another great big added to the roster. Probably would back up Hunter Dickinson. Now that Ernest Ude is gone, of course. And Ernest Ude is committed to TCU, by the way. Another little tidbit of information. Um, on KU basketball. Grant Nelson would be a great pickup. I feel like for KU, he's lengthy. He's got a lot of quickness. He can make plays as a big, even. My only issue with him is kind of his defense. He's not great defensively, and as a big, you kind of have to be great defensively in order to really get noticed much at all. You got to kind of be the wall down low in the post. Um, as we saw, with Ernest Uday, um, as we saw with Udoka Azubuike and others, um, and others in KU basketball history that have been really great Bill Self bigs. I think Nelson has the opportunity to do that if he is under the tutelage of a great defensive mind like Bill Self. He's shown flashes. It's just offense is his specialty. So Grant Nelson still on the board. That Rutgers guy, again, I can't remember the name of the guy. Rutgers transfer Porto. Paul Mulcahy, I think is how you pronounce that. Paul Mulcahy. 6'7". He could very well fit that Jalen Wilson replacement. Um, yeah, I like him as a Jalen Wilson replacement, potentially. Obviously, we have like guys like Elmarco Jackson, Marcus Adams, etc. But you still need a true wing for KU. So I could definitely see him fitting in there. Rutgers isn't a terrible basketball program. Certainly, they're just in the Big Ten, so they kind of catch a tough break with all those teams that are pretty good, solid programs that have been around a while. So yeah, that would be a great pickup too. And I know that they were thinking of a couple more, both in the high school area and in the transfer portal area. So we shall see what goes on there. As for Missouri just had Isaiah Mosley be just go away, go to the pros, I guess. I think it's a bit silly. I don't think he's anywhere near ready for the pros. I think him coming off the bench for that Missouri team last year showed that. I think he absolutely needed to stay another year. Unfortunately, it is too late now for him to go back. So he is going to go pro in somewhere. We'll see. We'll see if it's even basketball. Um, but I highly advise against that. He didn't produce nearly enough to be looked at with favor for any major pro basketball association around the world, much less the NBA. Um, as for the guy that shows the most promise uh, to be great in the NBA and in professional basketball, Kobe Brown definitely. Kobe Brown is staying in the NBA draft, and yeah, that's the right decision. He was the leader of that Missouri program last year when they had that big time turnaround under Coach Dennis Gates. Missouri might add another transfer. I don't know. I haven't heard anything from that front. I've heard a hearing or two, but that's all it's been is just a hearing. I don't see anything formulating from it. Um, and just overall, Missouri has been pretty quiet this transfer portal period. We'll see if it picks up towards the beginning of the season. So, still time, still plenty of time. Just the NBA draft deadline has come and gone, and Mizzou has lost more than they have kept on. So, um, but Kobe Brown has all the potential to be a great NBA player, to be a first round pick, and to potentially make a huge splash in the NBA. He's scrappy player, can get buckets, hard buckets. And overall is just a really good guard. So I can definitely see him going far. Speaking of NBA, though, we have one more piece. A certain kid from Burlington, Kansas, has been going off in the NBA Finals. I'm talking, of course, about Christian Braun. Christian Braun has averaged the most points in an NBA Finals from a non-lottery pick, which is incredibly impressive. But not only that, he would become the fifth player ever if the Nuggets do win the title to win an NCAA title and an NBA title in back-to-back years, which is crazy to me. Especially since like he's a producer for this team. Like he comes off the bench, but he gets great minutes. He's a scrappy player. He's a great defensive ball hawk. Um, and just goes up against stars like Jimmy Butler and just says, "Hey, like you're nothing to me. You're a great player, but you're not better than me." Um, Jimmy Butler is better than Christian Brown at this point, but you know, I mean, we saw what he did to him in game 3. I mean, we all saw. So, we'll see, what goes on. I hope that, Christian Brown can make some history. You don't even have to be a KU basketball fan to cheer for him. He's a kid from Burlington, Kansas. I mean, he's a local kid, and it's super cool to watch him excel, watch him get high praise from guys like Nikola Jokic. That's awesome, and just watching him in college, you shouldn't be surprised. Shoot, watching him in high school, you shouldn't be surprised. I mean, the guy is a winner. The guy is the scrappiest dude you'll ever see on a basketball court. I mean, he is just a lockdown defensive player. He creates offensive opportunities, whether it's for himself or others. I mean, he's just a great basketball player, and it's showing on the biggest stage in basketball. So it's just awesome. So congrats to him. Just wanted to throw that out there in the midst of all this portal and recruiting news going around. So congrats to Christian Brown. Let's move on to college ball. Yeah. Okay, onward to college football. Got first here some Eli Drinkwitz comments about name, image, and likeness. He kind of made some weird comments in regard to his brother or brother-in-law or something. Him being a surgeon and saving lives while earning, a fraction of what these college players are earning, and blah blah blah. It's a slippery slope. College players or professional athletes in general don't know how to use this money, and they're gonna blow it all once they retire, and da 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 da. Well, it's not true. You've got a few cases where this is true, where athletes, like oh, Deontay Wyatt, I think was his name, or West, like came out of the NBA and ended up homeless. And there's a ton of videos on the internet of him, walking around the street and all that. There's a few cases of that, yeah, but overall, a lot of athletes are pretty set, and know how to use this money, and NIL is not going to ramp those cases up by any stretch of the imagination. And the only reason those players that do end up broke coming once they're out of the league, it's because of the organizations and their lack of empathy. And it's because these organizations don't take care of the players, and these programs don't take care of the players once they leave. There's just no doubt in my mind that, you know, could we attribute some stuff to the players? Yeah. Attribute all of it like Eli Drinkwitz is trying to do? No, absolutely not. And I think it's silly for him to be making comments like this, especially when he's earning a huge salary for being a mediocre football coach. We'll see how he does this year, but frankly speaking, if he can't back up his comments by and just if he can't back up his comments and lays another, 5-7, 6-6 season on the Mizzou Tiger faithful, I think they're gonna have enough of them. So I think this hurts Eli Drinkwitz's reputation and only strengthens the points being made that are pro NIL and not anti NIL. I think a lot of anti NIL people really don't have a leg to stand on, frankly. Um, I think there are some problems with it, but they're problems that can be easily rectified, and we're seeing them being rectified right now. Um, I mean, look at the college football video game that's being made. They said that name, image, and likeness may not be a part of the game, and NIL advocacy groups, players, etc., are up in arms about it and telling people, "Hey, boycott this game. Yeah, we're not going to participate in giving you our licensing to this game." If that's what you're going to do. And that's, you know, the NIL does is it gives advocacy to players and puts players in a position because they are adults, mind you, in a position to where, yeah, they can earn money. They can be advocates for themselves and not be a glorified gladiator. I mean, that's basically what it was for a while. Was these players were a bunch of glorified gladiators for a time, especially in football. So I think Eli Drinkwitz's comments are misguided, and they're gonna look even more misguided if he lays another goose egg. So, have fun with your new contract, I guess. But you've always been a goober in my eyes, and this has not changed. So, um, good luck. You know, we'll see you next year. Um, as in, we will see you next year. But yeah, moving on. We got a little bit of a debate going on between KU and K State. Um, I've seen a lot of stuff floating around the internet of who is going to be the best quarterback to come out of the Big 12 this year. And obviously, you've got your Quinn Ewers supporters, your Dylan Gabriel supporters. Um, you've even got like John Reese Plumlee guys, um, Tyler Stowe guys, um, Tyler Tanner, I can't remember. The Texas Tech quarterback. And then, of course, you've got the Will Howard and Jalon Daniels guys. And that's kind of the key that I want to talk about here is who's going to have the better year between Will Howard and Jalon Daniels. They're both potential quarterback, all Americans, all conference. They both have a ton of potential. And the question is, who is going to have the better year? Jalon Daniels has more returning firepower. Jalon Daniels has shown that he can outperform big name quarterbacks and shows that he is, by all accounts, a great quarterback. The issue with him is his durability. Is can he stay healthy? And my brother-in-law Nick, or stepbrother-in-law, whatever you want to call it, Nick. He and I were talking yesterday at my mom's, and we were kind of going over it, and we were talking about shoulder injuries, especially in quarterbacks. And what Jalon Daniels had was a shoulder injury last year, which caused him to miss time and which caused Jason Bean to get some minutes. Um, Shoulder injuries for quarterbacks can potentially be career threateners, no matter how severe they are, um, or insevere they are. Um, and once you get one, it's as someone that has had shoulder injuries before, it's pretty easy to get another. And it's easy to make it worse. So depending on the kind of rehab Jalon Daniels has gone through, depending on the kind of protection that Jalon Daniels will have this year, obviously Mike Novotny is a preseason All Big 12 center. He's going to be a key piece, and they did lose a key piece as well in Earl Bostic Jr. Um, there's there's potential that he may not have enough protection, and yeah, Jalon Daniels is a scrambling quarterback too. Um, it's we'll see. I mean, we'll just have to see. KU does also have Jason Bean back there too, and Jason Bean hopefully has taken steps to improve. But I mean, if you're KU, do you really put your hands or your faith in the hands of Jason Bean? I mean, that showed that returned a 1-5 record after going, 5-0, or maybe 5-1, 5-0, 5-1. I don't know. Um, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But do you put your faith in the hopes that Jason Bean has improved, or do you put your faith in the fact that if Jalon Daniels can stay healthy, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12? As for Will Howard, he also has acquired some new weapons. He's got a great arm. I mean, he's shown that he can beat, the best in the nation. He hung with TCU. He beat Texas. Um, there's a lot. Or no, wait, he didn't beat Texas. I don't think. I can't remember for the life of me. But last year feels like decades ago. I'm sorry. But Will Howard has a lot of returning guys. Will Howard has a lot of weapons. He just got Trayshawn Ward from Florida State, who is a great running back and a great producer. He's the Deuce Vaughn replacement for sure. He's got a great O line. My only question with him is he ready for the bright lights if he is put there? Um, they lost to TCU. Yeah, Big 12 championship went well, which is great. But it's is there something there with Will Howard or isn't there? It's kind of because he's I don't know, just it's an interesting thought. We'll just say that and leave it at that. I did rank KU above K State in our way too early rankings. Um, but that's provided that Jalon Daniels can stay healthy. Um, both teams, I think, well, KU for sure is a boomer bust team. Uh, and if they boom, they boom. They're an incredibly high ceiling team, in my opinion. I think their ceiling is 10-2. I think their floor is 5-7. As for which is a huge gap, mind you. That's 5 wins. It's a huge gap. Like I said, they're boom and bust or boom or bust. Um, as for Kansas State, I can see them winning the Big 12 championship, and I can see them placing as low as fifth in the Big 12. I mean, the Big 12 is going to be incredibly competitive this year, especially at the top. Yeah, you're going to have your Houston's, you're going to have Iowa State, you're going to have, West Virginia, but you're also going to have Texas, Oklahoma, K State, uh, you know, um, KU up there. UCF might make a run. Texas Tech might make a run. Um, TCU might make another run. We'll see. I mean, it's going to be a very interesting Big 12 football season. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are too. I'm looking forward to talking about it. So we'll just leave it at that. It is June after all. We still got a bit of time. So okay. Um, the Royals. Royals. The Royals. What is there to say at this point? Honestly, like I hate being a negative Nancy here. I hate, dogging on this team week after week after week. But man, there's nothing good to say. There isn't. We've got a lot of talent. I guess that's a good thing. We got some talent. What is it going to get traded away? Is it going to have to get traded away? Is Bobby Witt Jr. going to come out of the slump? Is he going to stop looking like Alcides Escobar? Are we going to have to trade Salvador Perez? That's something that's been thrown around. What's going to be done about the pitching? They lost 11-3 today. They got swept by the Orioles in the series. I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, can this team be good if money's put into it, or are they too far gone? I think that's a question only John Sherman can answer. And I dogged John Sherman the last podcast, but shoot, I'll dog him again. Dude, you got to put some money into your talent. The small market excuse is so played out at this point, it's not even funny. We are one step above the Oakland A's. Soon, more than likely, not to be the Oakland A's. And I will tell you right now, if John Sherman says anything about selling this team, about moving them out of Kansas City, more like it. If he sells the team but still keeps it in Kansas City, I think a lot of people are going to be happy with that. But if he moves out of Kansas City, there's going to be riots. I mean, like, the Royals are a cornerstone team of Kansas City. Chiefs and Royals. And then Sporting Kansas City, too. Make up the trifecta of major Kansas City sports franchises. Well, what if we add an NBA team or an NHL team? Then the Royals will be obsolete, right? No, because they've been here since 1969. You realize the roots they have here? If you move them out of Kansas City, you're going to open up a can of worms that you cannot contain. But that's what we're talking about here in 2023. Is is John Sherman that bad of an owner, or the Royals that badly ran of an organization to where they're going to run themselves out of Kansas City, where they think that moving is the solution? No, it's not. No city's going to want this team if you're just going to continue to stink. And I get it, Matt Quatraro is in his first year of management. Well, there's first year everything, first year this, first year that. It's not an excuse anymore. They're 18-47. They are so far out of the playoff race that they're almost 30 games back. 30. It's unreal. Uh, I don't even know what to say anymore. Like, eh, I'm tired of talking about them, honestly, because it's just the same old thing every single day. Royals stink. What do we do about it? Invest more money into the organization. Doesn't invest more money into the organization. Why aren't you investing more money into the organization like literally everyone is telling you to do? Because you're an MLB owner. Because you're an MLB owner. I said it. A lot of MLB owners are not the greatest human beings in the world and don't give a rat's about the city that they are a part of. Look at the Pittsburgh Pirates. Look at the A's. A lot of these owners hold their cities hostage. That is starting to look like Kansas City right now. And Kansas City's not going to take that laying down. And they're showing it right now by not going to the games. So, we'll see what happens. Royals are one of the worst ran organizations in sports. And it showed today and it showed throughout this whole season. And I'll leave it at that. Okay. After that, to that note, sorry. Let's talk about some good news. Sporting Kansas City's in the playoff picture. We're gonna go full Jim Mora again. Playoffs. Playoffs. I mean, it's awesome. Right? Sporting Kansas City has completely turned around. And it's great because finally Sporting Kansas City looks like Sporting Kansas City again. Oh my gosh. Finally we have a good summer sport. Thank Christ. Um but yeah, Sporting Kansas City's back in the playoff picture. Sporting Kansas City beat the daylights out of Austin yesterday, 4-1. Um and looks like their old selves. There's still 16 weeks left in the MLS regular season. But Sporting's back in playoff contention. They're the 8th seed right now. And stranger things have happened. They were bottom of the Western Conference at one point, mind you. I mean, what is his team? um, they're finally producing on offense. They're creating chances and capitalizing on them. The defense has stiffened up. They're using that possession that they control for games. And overall, this looks like a night and day team. Um, and as far as what needs to be done to keep this team up in the playoff rankings and to even go, provide themselves some cushion, is to just keep winning. I mean, I know that's a simple sounding answer, but just keep doing what you're doing. I mean, this team looks night and day different than what they were back in, April and May. Um, this is a team that can win games and win them with authority. This looks like the Sporting Kansas City teams of old. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they just dug in and went on a run here and just, I hope, slaughter the Western Conference. That'd be great. Do I think that they're, gonna shoot up in the first place overnight? No. But this is a team that has shown that, hey, you know, yeah, we were bad to start the year, but we didn't take that laying down. And I think this is a great example of, fortunately, going back to our Royals segment here, of a team of an organization that knows how to turn things around and knows how to handle adversity. This is a team that has a history of winning. This is a team that looks like a team that wants to win, that puts money towards winning and not, ancillary crap. The Royals. Um, I'm sorry. That's the last I'm going to mention of them. I swear. Um, and just it's a squad that looks night and day different. I mean, Kyrie Shelton looks good now. The old guys look like they give a darn now. And the young guys look good. They look like they've developed. Peter Vermees looks like he's done a great job. And Peter Vermees looks like he doesn't want to lose his job. you know, it's awesome. And in order to stay up, you got to keep being awesome. It's a very, very tight middle of the pack in the Western Conference. Only single points separate you from playoffs and no playoffs. So you just got to keep winning. You just got to stay up, and you can't falter. You can't falter. Um, Sporting Kansas City, kind of have some tough games ahead. But this is a squad that showed that they could beat the best of the best in the Western Conference. And, you know, I firmly believe that at this point, yeah, the playoffs aren't a far cry. The play like we were saying, oh, excuse me, like we were saying in April and May. I mean, the play back in April and May, I thought Sporting Kansas City was gonna just go full on implosion. I mean, there was so much drama in the locker room, and they were talking about firing Vermees. The fans were turning against the team, and now it's like, oh wow, wait, you guys actually listened, man. Someone could learn a thing or two, huh? Right? Yeah, someone could learn a thing or two. Shoot, go Sporting. Okay, let's talk about the Kansas City Current. Um, the losses are piling up for the ladies. I think they suffered their fifth loss in a row um, this past weekend against North Carolina, and a lot of people were really hoping that they could beat that North Carolina team because North Carolina isn't that great. Um, and fortunately, Kansas City just dropped the ball. Um, they're running out of time to make a good run towards playoffs. And unlike the Western Conference in the MLS, Western Conference in the NWSL is a bit more top heavy, and there's not a whole lot of teams that are going to make it out of that bottom echelon. Um, and fortunately, the current are in that bottom echelon. Um, is it time to search for a new coach for the Kansas City Current? Interim coach was doing well for a bit, and now she's not. It's not looking good. The defense still needs to tighten up. There still needs to be some capitalization on chances that just is not happening. I mean, it looks like the Sporting Kansas City team of April and May. I'll just say that right now. Um, and injuries have been piling up too. Like it's rough. It's been a rough go. And kind of the championship run slump has set in, and it's probably time for the Current to make some changes. Uh, Time for some trades, time for new coaching, and kind of give this team new life. Um, they're you know they're a young team. They're a team that came off a really good year. Um, and they're a team that's getting a new stadium too. So there's definitely a lot of pressure to be good. There's a lot of pressure to make this turnaround and to show the fans that, hey, like, we are a good team and we're here to stay. Um, and in order to move into that new stadium and get butts and seats, because, I mean, the seating for the new Current stadium has already sold out. The season tickets have already sold out. Um, and have completely outperformed um, any seating capacity for any of the uh, any of the current games in weeks past or in seasons past. So there's a lot of pressure to be good for the Current, and I think the pressure is getting to them. I think there's a lot of frustration with this program, and I think they just need to find the course and stay on it. I think they need to take a page or two out of Sporting Kansas City's book and listen to the fans, listen to what analysts are saying, and make some changes. Not anything super duper drastic, but obviously you probably do have to have a coach with a bit more experience in there. You got to build some chemistry with the new and old players. You may have to trade a couple of those old players in order to find yourself a person that really fits the scheme and really fits what you're trying to improve upon. So, as far as the Current go, they're kind of at a crossroads of a young franchise of, you know, coming off of a championship run year. What now? So, we'll see what goes on. A little bit more time left to potentially make a run, but there's going to have to be a major turnaround um, for the Current in order for them to even make the playoffs. So, I mean, 6 losses in a row is not great. So, all right, let's get into some Chiefs news, shall we? Obviously, Chiefs are in their second week of OTAs. So again, season's getting a little closer. Should be a good one. Got some new additions on defense. Offense, still waiting on that big splash addition. Um, whether that be DeAndre Hopkins or Dalvin Cook or anybody for that matter. Um, I personally think they'll be fine if they don't add either of them. But a lot of Chiefs Kingdom seems to think otherwise, so I gotta pander to ya and say, well, there's a potential that they get DeAndre Hopkins or Dalvin Cook. They don't need him. They don't need him. They didn't have him last year. They didn't have a number one wide receiver last year, and they still won the frickin' Super Bowl. So why is there so much panic now? Oh, Juju Smith-Schuster left. Juju Smith-Schuster hardly did anything. Like you said, there was no true number one wide receiver last year. And they still won the whole shit. They still won the Super Bowl. Relax. The Chiefs don't, and the Chiefs have Isaiah Pacheco. So what are we even talking about Dalvin Cook for? We can't even afford him. Whatever. I digress. DeAndre Hopkins and Dalvin Cook were not not the two guys that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about Frank Clark and Chris Jones. So Frank Clark is moving on to the Denver Broncos, the division rival Denver Broncos. It's fine. I didn't expect him to come back. I don't think anyone in Chiefs Kingdom really had high hopes of him coming back. If you did, you're, well, don't really know the business all that well, I don't think. And then Chris Jones. Chris Jones. An extension has to be made at some point. I'll just say that right now. I think that is the highest priority out of everything transactionally that the Chiefs can do. Is extend Chris Jones and look into an extension for L'Jarius Sneed as well. I I I truly don't see them trading Chris Jones. I don't see them releasing Chris Jones. He's the centerpiece of this defense, and he still has at least this year left. And he's got plenty of production left in him, too. Um, and like I said, he's the heart and soul of that defense. That defense is not good, or as good, I should say, without Chris Jones's help. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen this defense without Chris Jones. It's not great. And yeah, they did add a couple of really good pieces, but Chris Jones is still the key piece on that defense. I love the young linebacking core. The young secondary is great too. Chris Jones is the centerpiece of that defense. Chris Jones gets the most pressures, the most sacks, and forces the most throws that can be capitalized upon by that secondary. As for the linebacking core, they're great, but they're still young and they still need to develop. And they're just inconsistent enough to where I'm like, okay, I wouldn't trust them entirely to lead this defense quite yet. So Chris Jones is a huge, huge priority. The second priority, maybe finding a weapon for Mahomes. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about DeAndre Hopkins or Dalvin Cook, but it'd be nice. It's not. It's not even close to a necessity, like people are saying. I think it's ridiculous that there are people out there that are saying that. Nothing against those people. I understand why they think that way. But I mean, look at last year. Again, look at last year. You have Patrick Mahomes on your team, and you tell me that you do not trust him to make a great run. We've always known that the Chiefs play the long game. We always have known that the Chiefs are a long haul team. That's why they've added so many young pieces to this team rather than, big name pieces, i.e., DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins still has a couple of great years left in him, I feel like. But if we're going to go out and pick him up, I feel like that hinders the development of some of these younger wide receivers that may or may not become great wide receivers. And yeah, I get it. Well, that's all left up to potential. DeAndre Hopkins is a proven guy, and the rest of this wide receiving core is not. Yeah, the rest of this wide receiving core is incredibly young. Kadarius Toney is the projected number one right now. He was drafted in 2019. He's my age. Actually, he might be a little younger than me. I think he's 24. I can't remember, but I mean, that's what it looks like right now. Is the Chiefs are kind of at this point of like, okay, how do we sharpen our already sharp steel? How do we make this great team even greater? Because they're a great team. And I think the whole NFL world knows that. So how do we make this team greater? Is and what can we do to keep this team great? Is kind of where the Chiefs are at right now. And by re-signing Frank Clark and extending, or not Frank Clark, Chris Jones, and extending him, that's how you make this team better. So that's priority number one. Okay. Last major segment here, and then we're going to wrap it up with some of your comments because I asked a question for y'all to answer. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Live PGA merger. Just a little bit, not too much. Um, Blues have their first qualifier this coming week in Iowa City for sevens, their first Nationals qualifier. Um, Team's reared up and ready to go by the sound of it. Um, Kyle Renner, Aaron Martin, and Gavin Kirk as well, among others. Looking pretty good. Looking like they're going to make Jimmy Lillis, and a whole host of other guys that have been kind of those sevens mainstays, kind of those guys that really make the big impact in sevens. Not me. I'm too big and I'm too slow. Uh, but yeah, this guys that are gonna make a big impact look like they're reared up and ready to go. Kyle Renner, of course, got picked up by the Premier Rugby Sevens Experts program. So he's already shaping up to have a career year. And to help this Blues team really excel. And there's, of course, a whole host of other names out there that will make an impact. But the main two guys, Kyle Renner, Aaron Martin, looking like they are going to lead this team to victory in some matches. We hope. We will see the fruits of Coach Kevin Schwartz's labor, Coach Jamie Devers as well, and Derek Leader come to fruition, I should say. And this next qualifier coming up in Iowa City on the weekend of Juneteenth. If you can make it up there and watch, great. Go see what the boys have been working on for the past couple of Tuesdays and Thursdays, as well as some Saturdays and Wednesdays as well. Um, and just go take a look. It's going to be pretty exciting stuff, I must say. The Blues also had their trivia night, in which we raised some good money and had a ton of fun with Kevin from Big Five Trivia. Shout out to him. Go support him. He's a funny guy. He's got great trivia, and we had a ton of fun. We're hoping to do it sometime again, really, really soon. And it was down at the American Legion in Parkville. We had a great time. Special thanks to them as well for hosting. And special thanks to the guys that bought the pizza as well. There's a lot of people to thank. Um, and it was a great event. Um, I got nothing but great things to say and nothing but great things that I've heard about this event. Organized by, of course, me. um, not to toot my own horn. Like seriously, it wasn't just me. Thank you for the efforts of everybody that made this trivia night go and made this trivia night a huge success. It was a ton of fun. I had a great time. A lot of other people had a really, really great time. Um, and just yeah, it's great to raise money for your program, but it's also tons of fun to have trivia. Also, yeah, probably should shout out the winners here. Congrats to Ashley Pouchet's team. I forget your name because God, again, Friday feels like it was a week ago. Um, Lots of stuff going on, but congrats to Ashley Pouchet's team. Y'all did great. I think you got perfect scores except for like one round, which is crazy. Um, but that's what you get when you get a lot of smart old people on the same team. Um, but congrats to them. And again, shout out to Kevin from Big Five Trivia. Thank you so much for coming out and for doing this. Much appreciated. As for some other news, because we're just going to jump right in. The Live PGA merger happened this past week. If you want more information on that, go read my article. It's got kind of my general thoughts on it, but just to summarize, um, money makes the world go round. That's all it is. Money makes the world go round, and when you have as much money as the Saudis, you kind of do whatever you want. And PGA, after all that bolstering of we're the, you know, we're America's league, remember 9/11, da 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 da. Give me a break. Give me a break. You just caved into the dollar and it was so funny and it was so rich. So there the way you make golf better is just you make it more inclusive. You make it to where it's not this country club exclusive atmosphere. You make it to where equipment's not upwards of $2,000 for a set of clubs. Like, guys, come on. Yeah, I've got plenty of friends and family that really enjoy golfing, but it truly, honestly, needs to be more inclusive. And that's how you improve golf. And I don't want to say Live is working on, you know, being that voice for the globalization of golf because, frankly speaking, complimenting the the people that run Live out of everybody else that's kind of working to make golf more inclusive seems kind of kind of counterintuitive. um, Go read my article for more. But yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. I did also ask a question to you all regarding a certain topic that I was curious about. And that topic was what is the most memorable sports moment you have seen live in person? Um, and I got some good answers. We're just gonna kind of go down the list here. Got a few to mention and a few to kind of go through here. We've got my girlfriend, Sarah Ben Ezra, the KU football game against OSU when they became bowl eligible in 2022 was pretty iconic for me and sweeter with you too. I appreciate it. It was a ton of fun watching that game. Um, just the storming of the field, the huge bowl bound thing on the screen was something that I never thought I would ever see ever again. Um, and seeing KU become bowl eligible for the first time in a decade and a half was pretty cool. So, um, Missy D Donder, my mother, says KUMU last game overtime in Lawrence in 2012. Yeah, that game was pretty cool. Wish I could have gone with you, Mom. I didn't get to go with. Anyway, still awesome time. I bet. Um, one of the most iconic rivalries, one of the most iconic rivalry games to ever be played. And it's making a comeback. So, um, it it hasn't been as competitive per se as you know the games that game and the games when there were still interconference rivals, but it's making a comeback. We'll see how this year goes. We'll see how this year goes. Should be fun. Um, Brett Dose says hard agree on KU becoming bowl eligible. Another one that comes to mind is KU basketball's double OT win over Texas Tech in 2022 when Och hit the three and sent it to the second overtime. That one was pretty sick. I remember watching that on TV, and that was super cool. I did not think we were going to win that game. Texas Tech was really, really good back in 2022. Um, we were too, but just great, great, great game to watch. And, you know, watching with non KU fans was kind of weird because I was freaking out while everyone else around me was like, what's wrong with that guy? But it was still an awesome, awesome game to watch, whether you could have been there or not. Um, Another one that's mentioned here by me, um, the OU-KU game that went into triple overtime, where Buddy Hield and Devontae Graham just went toe to toe. That game was amazing, and my heart would not stop beating out of my chest for that game. So just to be a part of that was absolute madness, and just God, it was so cool to be in Allen Fieldhouse that night. Yeah, I've never screamed louder, and I had absolutely zero voice after the game. So, Brett Knows, though, responded to me after that saying, forever my biggest wish I was there game. I happened to be in Denver for that one. Still surprised the people in the hotel rooms next to mine didn't call the front desk. That was, yeah, no, yeah, I was losing my mind during that game. Uh, got a couple of Instagram ones too. So let's go look at those right quick. Give me just a sec. Sorry, I have a cough drop in me. Thank you for bearing with me. I don't have a whole lot of a voice right now. My allergies have been killing me over this past week. So my voice has not been at its best, including today. But thank you for bearing with me. It's been a good ride. Um, yeah, we got one here on Instagram. Derek Carr winning a game versus Kansas City. I bet you can guess who this one was. Derek Pearson, former coach of the Kansas City Blues and noted Raiders fan in my fandom. Derek, one of three. It's a rare moment, I must say. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. Um, you know, I know that you were talking about being a free agent fan once Derek Carr moved on, And once, he moved to Kansas City and got clowned on an almost daily basis for being a Raiders fan. Um, Now you're a Derek Carr fan, from what I hear. Um, Wish him all the luck at the Saints. The Raiders are not looking too good this year, too. So I wouldn't blame you if you had just started rooting for the Saints. I get it. Believe me, I do. But we'll see what happens. Um, that's our show for the day. Thank you so much for joining me, for bearing with me through my gross throat stuff and just my allergies in general. Thank you for being a loyal reader, a loyal listener, and a loyal viewer of my content. Your presence is very much appreciated. We should do this same time next week, yeah? I think so. Yeah, I think I'll be back here next week. Um, but it is going to be Father's Day, so um, it may not actually be same time next week. We may push that to Monday. No matter, I'm off on Monday for Juneteenth, um, so expect a show next week for sure. I know last year I didn't do a show on Father's Day or Father's Day week for that matter. Um, this year I will because I do have that Monday off. So. This has been the Burn KC signing off. Have a great week. Have a happy Father's Day if I don't see ya. And yeah, have a great one. We'll see ya. This is Burn KC signing off.